yeah, it's true. But I changed the game for you. Can I be for real?
Hi everyone, today we are going to share our feelings and personal experiences in a safe and comfortable environment. This activity helps us listen respectfully, support each other, and understand that everyone faces stress in different ways. I think one of the hardest part about stress is that doesn't always appear in obvious ways. Sometimes it shows up physically through exhaustion, headache, difficulty sleeping, or feeling constantly tense. Other times it affects the way we think and interact with people around us. I notice that when I'm stressed for too long, I become more distracted, impatient, or emotionally drained. Even during situations that normally would not bother me. It's strange how stress can slowly build up in the background until eventually it starts affecting almost every part of daily life. There are also moments where I feel pressure to keep going without slowing down because it feels like there's always something that needs attention. Responsibilities don't stop, deadlines continue, and expectations can feel overwhelming. Sometimes I feel like I'm constantly thinking about what comes next instead of being present in the moment. Even during times when I'm supposed to be resting, my mind is still racing with unfinished tasks, worries, or things I think I could have done better. I realize that overthinking plays a huge role in my stress too. I tend to replay conversations, worry about outcomes that haven't even happened yet, or put too much focus on mistakes and imperfections. Even small problems can start to feel much bigger when I spend too much time thinking about them. I'm learning that not every thought deserves my full attention, and sometimes giving myself mental space is necessary. Another challenge is trying to meet expectations, both from others and from myself. I think many of us grew up feeling like we always need to succeed, stay productive, or prove ourselves in some way. Over time, that mindset can become exhausting because it creates constant pressure to perform perfectly. I had to remind myself that being human means making mistakes, needing breaks, and sometimes feeling uncertain. Nobody can handle everything perfectly all the time, even if it may seem that way on the outside. I also start paying more attention to how important balance really is. When life becomes too focused on responsibilities without enough time for rest or enjoyment, stress can grow very quickly. That's why I've been trying to intentionally create small moments of peace during the day. Sometimes that means listening to calming music, spending time outside, watching something comforting, writing down my thoughts, or simply allowing myself to pause without feeling guilty about it. Those moments may seem small, but they help me feel more grounded. One thing I'm continuing to work on is learning how to ask for help when I need it. I used to think I had to deal with everything on my own, but I realized that carrying stress alone can make it feel heavier. Talking to someone I trust has made a big difference for me because it reminds me that I don't always have to solve everything by myself. Sometimes people don't necessarily need advice. They just need someone who will listen and understand. I also notice how important self-talk can be during stressful periods. When I'm overwhelmed, I can become very critical of myself. I focus on what I haven't done, what I could have done differently, or why I'm not handling things better. But lately, I've been trying to replace some of those thoughts with more patience and understanding. I'm learning to remind myself that struggling sometimes does not mean I'm failing. It simply means I'm dealing with a lot and it's okay to acknowledge that honestly. Another important realization for me has been understanding that rest is productive too. For a long time, I view rest as wasting time, especially when there was still so much left to do. But I'm starting to understand that constantly running on stress and exhaustion is not sustainable. Taking care of mental health, getting enough sleep, eating properly, and allowing time to recover are all important parts of functioning well in the long term. There are still days when stress feels very heavy, and I don't want to pretend that I always know how to handle it perfectly. Some days are harder than others. Sometimes I still feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, or uncertain about things. But I think what's changing is my awareness. I'm becoming more honest with myself about how I feel instead of ignoring it or pretending everything is okay all the time. I'm also trying to celebrate small victories more often. Sometimes progress isn't something shoot or dramatic. Sometimes progress is simply getting through a difficult day. Taking a needed break, opening up to someone, or choosing healthier ways to cope instead of shutting down emotionally. Those small moments matter more than we realize. I think conversations like this are important because stress is such a common experience. Yet many people silently deal with it alone. When people openly share their experiences, it creates understanding and reminds others that they are not the only ones struggling. Everyone carries different pressures and challenges that may not be visible from the outside. At the end of the day, I'm still learning how to manage stress in healthier ways and how to be more compassionate toward myself during difficult moments. I know there's no perfect solution, and I know stressful periods are a part of life. But I'm beginning to understand that taking care of mental and emotional well-being is just as important as meeting responsibilities or achieving goals. Moving forward, I want to continue building healthier habits, staying connected with supportive people, and giving myself permission to slow down when needed. I want to remind myself that my work is not based on constant productivity or perfection. It's okay to have difficult days, and it's okay to still be figuring things out. In conclusion, I think the biggest thing I learned is that stress can look very different for everyone. And sometimes we don't even realize how much we're carrying until we finally slow down and talk about it. There are moments when stress builds up quietly through responsibilities, expectations, pressure from school or work, relationship, uncertainty about the future, or even just trying to keep everything together day after day. And while it's easy to feel isolated during those times, conversations like this remind us that many people are going through similar struggles in their own way. For me, one important realization has been that sharing feelings and experiences does not mean we are weak or incapable. In fact, being honest about stress takes courage. Sometimes people feel like they always have to appear strong, productive, or fine even when internally they are overwhelmed. But keeping everything bottled up can make stress heavier over time. Opening up even a little can create relief, understanding, and connection. It allows people to feel seen rather than judged. Another thing I learned is that coping with stress is not about finding one perfect solution that suddenly fixes everything. Stress management is often about small, consistent habits that help us regain balance little by little. Different things work for different people. Some people find comfort in talking to friends or family. Others cope through journaling, exercise, listening to music, spending time alone, praying or meditating, creating art, or simply taking breaks when life becomes overwhelming. Personally, I found that taking time to rest, organizing my thoughts, and reminding myself that I don't have to solve everything at once can really help during difficult periods. Even simple things like getting enough sleep, going for a walk, or stepping away from social media for a while can make a difference. I also think it's important to remember that healing and growth are not always linear. There are good days and difficult days. Sometimes we make progress and other times stress returns unexpectedly. That does not erase the progress we made. Learning how to cope in an ongoing process, and it's okay if we are still figuring things out. What matters is continuing to care for ourselves and allowing ourselves the patience we will give to others. Most importantly, I believe supportive environments matter. When people feel safe enough to share their experiences without fear of judgment, it creates understanding and empathy. We may not always have the perfect advice or answers for one another, but simply listening and being present can have powerful impact. Sometimes knowing that someone genuinely hears and understands us can ease emotional pressure more than any solution. Furthermore, I hope we all remember that stress is a normal part of life, but we do not have to face it alone. It's okay to ask for support, to take breaks, and to prioritize mental and emotional well-being. Everyone's journey is different, and every small step toward healthier every small step toward healthier coping matters. By continuing to communicate openly, support each other, and practice healthy coping strategies, we can gradually build resilience and take better care of ourselves and the people around us. Thank you for listening. So I pass to Kalisha Haina.